Some of the challenges that I faced and conquered as a woman, I think have come from a lot of different places. I think sometimes as women, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So sometimes it's conquering that inner voice and that being to say, you know, I can do this, I'm going to do this. I might be the first woman to do this, but darn it, I'm going to do it. So I think there's a little bit of that internal conquering that has to happen as a woman. And again, you know, in my time when I was coming up in corporate America, I was in a very male-dominated industry, and there was a lot of conquering of, well, she can't do this, or a perception that she couldn't do this, or maybe I wasn't allowed to do certain things, and I had to kind of go around and ask, you know, sometimes ask directly. And I can remember a time asking for, you know, something that I felt I had worked really hard toward and being told, that's not how we do things here. Like, you don't speak up for yourself that way. And that was a while ago, so I'm happy to know that I hope that's not still going on in the world, but it might be. And I think that whether you're a male or a female, we have to be cognizant of what we're saying to that next generation, whether they're male or female, young or old. What is the message that we're sending, and what is that culture we're creating so that everyone's safe to pursue their dreams?
Challenges that I faced as a woman, and those I conquered, I think that's why I'm still here. Like I said, the exams. That was the big part. I mean, when I came in, my husband was already living here, and it was because of him that I moved here. So I remember him asking, are you sure you want to continue to be a doctor? And I was like, yeah. And the reason, because it's going to be tough. And by then we knew friends that had come over as doctors but couldn't continue because of the challenges of the exams, and from other countries, from the Philippines, you know. And so that was number one for me. I knew I had to do it. I knew there was no other way. I wanted to be a doctor. As I said, I didn't know anything else to do. So I had to do what I had to do today. So yeah, that I did, and I conquered.
So some of the challenges that I have faced were early in my career. Unfortunately, I did have the experience of having to file charges against one of my bosses for sexual harassment. It was a very tough experience to go through. It teaches you a lot. You figure out who you are, you figure out what you can put up with, and you figure out where your boundaries are. It also builds a lot of character, it builds a lot of self-esteem, it builds a lot of things that you don't realize that you actually need as you go on later in life. It's an experience that I wish no one else to ever go through, but I'm glad that I went through it. It was something that made me who I am today.
There were many challenges when I became a director in the RV industry. It was very, very male-dominated, so many times I would go into a meeting and the meeting would only be men, so they would look at me very strangely that somebody would be a director as a woman. I was told point blank that I didn't need to be paid as much because I had a husband that was supporting me. I encountered that many, many times as I was growing in my career.
You know, I think that looking at knowing who you are and knowing what you can contribute, it reminds me that sometimes people want to write a narrative for you. We have to write our own stories. We have to make sure that we have a vision. God gave us all visions. He all gave us a purpose. And sometimes people will either subconsciously or consciously try to deter you from that because they can't see it. But we have to make sure that we, even if we sometimes don't know if that's the place that we need to be, we can achieve that. And we just have to believe that we can get there.
There was a lot of glass ceilings that you had to deal with in moving up, that you would get to elevated to a certain level and then you weren't able to move beyond that. And there was a lot more sexual harassment that you experienced, and you didn't feel like you had standing or support. Not that I ever encountered that, of course, at the Crossroads YMCA, but earlier on in my career, I had a couple of situations. You know, you are approached and you wonder if, you know, turning down advances or turning down what you feel is inappropriate relationships is going to hinder your career.
Well, I believe I conquered the opportunity to complete my education, because remember, when I graduated, I didn't go straight to school. I worked. I took that scenic route. However, it's difficult being a single parent working full-time and going to school part-time. It is very hard to do that. I worked full-time as a secretary all day, and then in the evening I took 2 classes. My bachelor's is from Calumet College, so I would run over to Calumet College, come home, get the children, look over their homework, feed them, put them to bed, do my homework, and then I was watching Oprah. So Oprah was on about 11 o'clock at night. I'm up doing homework. So I was able to overcome those challenges, and I think personally and professionally, that was one of my greatest accomplishments.
One of the biggest challenges that I'm so proud of that I conquered was having work-life balance. I went back to school to get my master's, and at the time we were building a house. I got married, we had a blended family. I was working, I was doing internships, and I thought, I don't even know how I'm going to survive this, but I know that with a lot of family support, I can do this. It doesn't matter if I'm a woman or not, but I will tell you, it took, I think, a lot more support because I was filling a lot more roles as a woman, as a mom, as a wife, as a student. That is my biggest, I think, accomplishment, is keeping sane during that, but also being able to ask for help during that time, because a lot of women won't ask for help for fear of they will be seen as weak. They will be seen as unsuccessful if they can't do it on their own.
The world's evolved a lot, and I think that's great. And I think that being able to celebrate women and celebrate their accomplishments is great. But it's up to us. You know, it's up to you being able to have the courage to sit in a room where you feel uncomfortable. It's up to you to look and watch a speech by Condoleezza Rice, by Ginny Rometty, but make them your mentor. Even if you don't have the fortune to know them personally, even though we're women, we still have the same responsibilities to make ourselves better, you know, and to do our homework. And then it becomes dangerous.